Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our session on optimizing Postgres cloud strategy, capacity planning, and selecting the right instance size. I'm your host, Annie, and I have with me Umair Shahid, who is the founder of Stormatics, as the speaker for this session. So, in today's session, Umair will be sharing anything and everything you need to know to ensure your Postgres deployments run seamlessly and cost effectively. But before we dive right into it, I would like to share a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and you will have access to the recording afterwards. Feel free to use the Q&A feature or the webinar chat box for your queries. We will have a Q&A segment at the end, so those will be answered then. And that's all from my end. Over to you, Umair.
Thank you, Annie. And thank you, folks, for joining in. I can see that there are still folks that are in the process of joining in. So, I'll go a little slow over the first slide or so that other people can join in as well. But yeah, thank you, folks, for joining this webinar. Just as a reminder, this is a series that we try and ensure that we do at least one webinar every month, sometimes even two. And the idea is to share knowledge about Postgres and the various different areas around Postgres that we encounter as we go about consulting with different customers. The common problems that we see customers face, we try and take those topics and educate our audience related to these topics. So today's topic is related to optimizing Postgres cloud strategy. And with the move that and the revolution that the cloud has brought in, another move that it has shown is that the databases are increasingly moving towards the cloud. It brings in lots of benefits. It brings in some sets of challenges as well. And most of the challenges are related to costing and selecting the right instance size. And we have seen this often enough in our customer base that I decided to create an entire webinar out of it so that we can share our experience and our recommendations. So let's get started. Today we're going to be covering four broad topics. We're going to be talking about the concept of capacity planning, how instances are sized in the cloud, how to manage your costs proactively and sometimes even reactively, and what are the common pitfalls that you need to look out for so that you don't end up with a bill that is, much bigger than you expected to get. The first topic is understanding capacity planning. Now, let's first define what capacity planning means. Essentially, it is about a systematic approach that will help you plan for the future and plan the capacity that you need in your systems and in your resources to meet the demands of the future of your application. You want to provision enough resources so that your app runs meaningfully smoothly, but you also don't want to over provision, ending up with a bill that is bigger than what you absolutely need. So that's what capacity planning is all about. Why it matters is that in case you end up assigning resources to your database that are less than the requirement, which is in other words called under provisioning, you will hit performance bottlenecks and your database will not perform and hence your application stack will not be able to perform or scale. In case you end up with more resources than are required, which is called over provisioning, you'll be spending on capacity that you don't really need. So in both cases, you want to hit a sweet spot and want to make sure that you neither over provision nor under provision. Now, why is capacity? So capacity planning has been around for a while. I mean, it's not a new concept. It's not a concept that came in with cloud environments. But why it is especially important now in this day and age? Well, the primary reason is the ease with which cloud will allow you to scale up or down. You see, go back the pre-cloud era, in case you wanted more hardware, more infrastructure resources, you had to go through an entire process of uh, ordering a certain server, certain hardware. So, and that server will come in, you'll set it up, and then use it for your database. It involved multiple departments, and even if it was a smaller company, it did require actual procurement of physical hardware, which is not an instant thing. It's not an instant action. It will take a little bit of time, and hence there was some disincentive for ordering more server or more hardware than absolutely necessary. With cloud, it makes it extremely easy. You just put in your credit card and you click a button and you're done. Right? It's a swipe of a credit card and you can scale using your card, scale either up or down. Because, well, on one hand, it makes infrastructure provisioning very, very easy, but it also makes it easy to overspend, which is what makes capacity planning so much more critical in cloud environments. What cloud provides is a pay-as-you-go model. You don't have to procure hardware in advance to create the infrastructure for your database. You can pay on a monthly basis, kind of like a rent, if you may. And because what they calculate is a monthly cost or an hourly cost, it can seem like a small amount, but it can quickly add up and it can increase costs. In the same way, if you become too conservative, you might end up with less resources than you absolutely need, and it will hurt your performance. And the balance that you need to maintain is between elasticity and predictability. You want to be elastic. You want to be able to to be as agile as possible, so that you can adapt to fluctuations. But also, you want to be able to forecast your requirements. You want to be able to be predictable in order to be able to leverage that elasticity to your advantage. Rather than overspending or underspending, you want to leverage that elasticity. And it is that elasticity and those on-demand resources that makes capacity planning so critical in cloud environments. And this is something that we've seen repeatedly in our